Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be at least breaking down the winners for the Visual Effects Society Awards and the Costume Designers Guild Awards. This will give us some more insight as to who's going to win the Best Visual Effects category at the Oscars and who's going to win the Costume Design category at the Oscars. And I'm not gonna lie, the races are not very clear. First, let's start with Costume Design because I feel like that's gonna be, like the Visual Effects one is gonna be just way more in-depth. But with Costume Design, our nominees are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. What's interesting is that at the Critics' Choice Awards, they gave costume design to Barbie, whereas the BAFTAs gave it to Poor Things. Let's just start with contemporary film. Obviously, Saltburn won. It beat out fellow contenders American Fiction, May December, Naiad, and Renfield. Again, I'm kind of surprised Renfield was on here and not fantasy film, but I don't really know what the qualifications are or whatever. But this makes the most sense. Saltburn was like the most tech-y of all these films. And so it kind of makes sense why it would get here. But then let's get to period film, in which Poor Things beat out Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Napoleon, and Oppenheimer. Admittedly, I'm kind of surprised this wasn't in the fantasy film category, considering that's where it was at the Art Directors Guild Awards. Then again, Cruella did the exact same thing, where Cruella at the Costume Designers Guild Awards was in period film, but at the Art Directors Guild, it was in fantasy film, which I don't know if you could really call Cruella a fantasy film. But then for fantasy film at this year's Costume Designers Guild Awards, Barbie ended up beating Haunted Mansion, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Little Mermaid, and Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Now granted, this is very expected considering Barbie was the only one nominated for the Oscar, but what do we do about the costume design category at the Oscars? Like, who is going to win? The Critics' Choice plus Costume Designers Guild combo has never failed. So I guess because of that stat, I may have to go with Barbie. But then again, what do I also do with production design? Do I still go with Barbie? I mean, yeah, it's only one Critics' Choice, but at the same time, the Critics' Choice Awards do line up with the Oscar winners pretty often. I mean, they didn't last year, but to be fair, no one saw Babylon losing to All Quiet from, coming a mile away. But then we get to the Visual Effects Society Awards. Now, just as a refresher, the Oscar nominees for Best Visual Effects are The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and Napoleon. Now, I've been kind of suggesting that Napoleon was going to take the Oscar because it's the most prestigious film of the bunch, but the Visual Effects Society Awards just went, you think you know the race, but you don't, because, well, obviously, The Creator, won the most awards tonight. It won 5 awards, including Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature, Outstanding Created Environment in a Photoreal Feature, Outstanding Effect Simulations in a Photoreal Feature, Outstanding Compositing and Lighting in a Photoreal Feature, and Outstanding Model in a Photoreal or Animated Project. Next down the line in terms of the most wins was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with 4 wins, and it won Outstanding Visual Effects in an Animated Feature, Outstanding Animated Character in an Animated Feature for the character of Spot, Outstanding Created Environment in an Animated Feature, and Outstanding Effect Simulations in an Animated Feature. Again, it made sense. At number 3 with the most wins was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, in which it won 2 awards, which were Outstanding Virtual Cinematography in a CG Project and Outstanding Animated Character in a Photoreal Feature for the character of Rocket, beating Godzilla in Godzilla -1, meaning Godzilla has won nothing. The only awards Godzilla has won for visual effects were a couple of critic circles. If even, if it was either a couple of critic circles or 1. And the fact that Godzilla didn't even get nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards or the BAFTAs, I already said it wasn't going to win visual effects. It's so not winning visual effects. It has nothing behind it. Again, other than maybe a couple of critic circle wins, but does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? Speaking of movies that have no precursor wins, I thought for sure Napoleon was going to win supporting visual effects. I mean, after all, when you look at the nominees, it is the only one with an Oscar nomination behind it. And yet somehow Naiad beat it. Yeah, Naiad, which also coincidentally just also got nominated for the Writers Guild of America Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Absolutely not. Why did they do that? But admittedly, I can see why it won visual effects, supporting visual effects at the Visual Effects Society. Okay, maybe not win, considering I thought it was so good to be Napoleon. But apparently, especially when you watch Corridor Crew's video, the movie actually does have some very, very impressive visual effects, mainly in that all of the water was CG. All of it. Like, I've heard some people say, oh, I noticed that the water was CG. It's like, no, you didn't. I genuinely do not believe anyone who says that they thought the water in especially the close-up scenes, didn't look real. I genuinely do not believe anyone who says that. Because, come on. You did not notice that. Come on. But the fact that Naiad beat Napoleon is really damning for Napoleon's Oscar chances. Because, remember when I said that Godzilla had pretty much nothing except for a couple of Critic Circle wins for visual effects? Napoleon has jack shit. It has nothing. Even Ex Machina was close to getting a Best Picture nomination, considering it got PGA and it got a writing nomination at the Oscars. Now I can't say that Napoleon is winning visual effects. What? It has nothing. It has no precursors. It couldn't even win in the category that it was destined to win in at the Visual Effects Society, and even the BAFTAs didn't even go for it. They went for Poor Things, which wasn't even nominated for the Oscar. So at this point, I kind of have to maybe say the creator is winning visual effects, which I know sounds counterproductive to everything I said before about how it wasn't even eligible for Best Picture, and it's a very divisive film, but it's also what other options are there? There's nothing else. None of these other films have gotten any precursors. Hell, even other things of the Visual Effects Society today were very chaotic. For example, Oppenheimer beat Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 for outstanding special or practical effects in a photoreal or animated project, which doesn't really make any sense to me, considering I have seen visual effects artists criticize the practical explosion in Oppenheimer because they said it looked nothing like a nuke, it looked like a gasoline explosion. The best thing I can think of to maybe explain this was that because there was so much backlash to Oppenheimer getting snubbed out of the top 20 for visual effects, maybe they gave it this win and also the top prize nomination as a consolation prize. It's not a bad theory, again, because this win is just not consistent with what visual effects artists have actually been saying about the practical effects in Oppenheimer, that it actually did hurt the impact of the film. So yeah, this is already chaotic. So again, Mission Impossible losing the only award it was nominated for at the Visual Effects Society to Oppenheimer, which wasn't even considered for a nomination at the Oscars. Godzilla Minus One losing its only award nomination to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And now Napoleon, which I thought was going to win, not even winning supporting visual effects and losing to a film that did not even make it to the top 10. I guess I just do have to go with the creator. And if we're not going with the creator, maybe Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 pulls through. That could win. It does check a few boxes. It is very much critically acclaimed, and also, people do get emotionally attached to the CG characters in the film, like Rocket. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. I would say maybe the creator is number 1 to win, and if it wasn't the creator, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What do you think of the Visual Effects Society Award winners and the Costume Designers Guild Award winners? What does this say about the costume design and visual effects categories at the Oscars? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, Naiad is just going to continue getting more nominations and wins.